So, my dear students, you have come to know that ecology developed substantially in the 18th and 19th century, and the people, the persons, individuals who have contributed significantly during this period, 18th and 19th century, to the concept and the development of ecology we have discussed already in the earlier few slides. And these contributions of these people have given a structure to the concept of ecology. And it is not that they they were the people who only contributed. There are some other people who have also, may not be substantially, but they have also shared, contributed to development of the concept in the different aspects to the ecology. One of such person is Wallace, Alfred Russel Wallace, who is the contemporary and competitor to Darwin. And he was the first to propose geography of animal species. What is the meaning of geography of animal species? Yes, the meaning is that every species has some kind of geography. Geography, they are found at a particular locations on the earth, not in all areas. So he first proposed that animals, which animal is found in a particular area of the earth is decided by the animal and its adaptability to that location, to that particular area, to the climate, to the food, or to other ambience of that particular area. So it is a kind of a distribution of animals or on the earth depending on different ecological conditions. So he gave this concept that the animal's geography is decided by the climate or the ecology of that particular area. Another person that I have mentioned in the first few slides, that Carl August Mobius. His contribution is very worth mentioning because without the term biocenosis, it was usually very difficult to define the community or the living being of the population. He proposed this term in 1877, and it means community of living beings. The classification of living and non-living was there during the Plato's time, and when we talk about the living beings, the community means the living beings which have some commonness, and there are two terms we can divide. One is the community and second is the living beings. When we talk about community, there are a number of species or populations of species together in a particular location at a particular time. Why they are there? Why this community of species, population of species are there in that particular area? Because they are sharing some common resources. So this is called community of living beings. Without this concept, it was very difficult to progress with other terms of ecology, because ecosystem is a concept which deals with community, and all other relationships, that predator-prey relationships and different resource partitioning, other different ecosystem concepts, these are based on the concept of community, or you can say in terms of Mobius, community of living beings. So he has given this particular concept, that community is a term which is a number of populations and which can share a number of resources, and there are interactions. These interactions have some languages, patterns, food chain, food web, predator-prey relationships, and many more things. So all are embedded in a term which is called biocenosis. Then, as I told you in the previous class or previous slides, So as I told you in the previous few slides that Darwin is actually an ecologist, and he set the roots of scientific ecology, because many of the scientists, they proposed through some observations, but Darwin has proposed observations through some strategic way, and he has proposed the mechanisms based on those observations. He added the logic of observations, and these logics have been analyzed and finally propose the mechanism. So it is a very scientific procedure to give a concept. In his book, the on the origin of species, whatever he has commented, all these comments and observations have been made on the basis of a very stepwise study procedure. So he said the scientific method of studying ecology in a very normal or in a very common way. You can say ecology is the study in the field. Ecology cannot be studied inside a laboratory. So Darwin has visited many places, observed them in nature. He went to the nature, studied, observed and studied and analyzed, and finally he set the concept or the proposed those mechanisms of different competitions. So he is the first person to give a scientific attribute to the ecology. So Darwin's concept of natural selection focused primarily on competitions, and this is, I told you earlier also, this is the main basis of the ecology, that how the resources are shared. It's a mutualism, means there is no competition, or there is a competition where the resources will be divided on the basis of some rules. So this is what the Darwin has contributed. Later, when Ernst Haeckel he developed the term ecology, he it is the Darwin, since it was not understood that Darwin knew the concept, the term ecology, or he did not know, because Ernst Haeckel was the competitor of Darwin. Darwin might have not used this term ecology, although he knew it. But whatever, the two persons, Ernst Haeckel and Darwin, although they were competitor, one has given the very strategic way of studying ecology, and another has given the name of that study, that Ernst Haeckel, ecology. So from these two naturalists, we have got a very concrete structure on the subject ecology. Then if you go one step ahead, we can meet Alexander von Humboldt. Humboldt is known as father of ecology. Why? He was the first to take on the study of the relationships between organisms and their environment. Till now, you have understood that when Darwin was defining the competitions, or the earlier people were defining the biocenosis, they were defining all the species, only the populations. But Alexander von Humboldt was the first person who proposed that the study of relationship, this is what you can see here, relationship between organisms and their environment, is the core part of ecology. Even today, if anyone asks you what is ecology, your first definition or response will be that it is a subject area where the interactions between organisms and their environment is discussed. So what is that interactions? This is the relationships between the organisms and their environment. These are the biotic, these are the abiotic. So these two components are discussed. He exposed the existing relationships between the observed plant species and the climate, and the described vegetation zones using latitude and altitude, a discipline now known as geobotany. So that is very common, that plant species and the climate, there are obvious many relations. The plant species are highly dependent on climate. And vegetation zone using latitude and altitude. Since the climate is different in different latitude and altitude, so the vegetations are also different. So he first pointed out that, see, the organisms, means the plant species, they are dependent on the environment available. The plant species or vegetation which are in high altitude are different from the plant species which are in the low altitude. So this discipline is known as geobotany. And he was also known as the person who was given the idea for plant geography. In botany, plant geography is a very one of the component part in the subject. So plant geography, he has first given the idea. Then the biosphere, that you come to the wider part of the study of interactions, and in the 19th century, just before 19th century, you can say, that is Edward Suez. So best known for coining the term Gondwana land. You know what is the meaning of Gondwana land? This is obviously, you will be knowing that when the the tectonic plates were divided, they formed the Gondwana land. They came from the Gondwana land. We have nowadays the different what is called the landforms: Australia, Asia, Africa. All these landforms are there. These have come from Gondwana land. So he gave the idea that all those organisms were together at a time. But this is the ambience and the different other factors which have divided them. And everywhere there is a different ecology of the area set, and accordingly the animals have also cope up with those ecology and a setup. So he gave that concept that ecology has decided, these biotic and abiotic components have decided their own community. If in an area the high temperature is there and low water is there, then this high temperature and low water these abiotic components have set up the community which can thrive in that high temperature and low water condition. Similarly, where the rainforests are there and frequent rain is there, and the temperature is very conducive, and in those areas the community is set by those ambiances. So Gondwana land is just a sparkling concept, and it has been spread to different other fields also, where the geography and the other components have isolated the organisms, and a different setup has been fixed. Then it has come to Henry Chandler Collas. He has given two very important ideas. One is plant succession and the climax formation. As you know, the plant succession was already there, but he gave that the successions have different forms, and there are different climax formation, and this climax concept was not there earlier. But when there is a succession, is a gradual transition of some habitat from low or simple forms to a very high and complex forms. So when these simple forms move to high and complex forms, there are some stages where these forms are very much saturated. Saturated means they are already filled up with different resources and components. This is called climax formations. So this particular concept was given by Henry Chandler Collas, and this has given the stability concept, ecosystem stability. Ecosystem is a system which is stable with some resources. If the system is not stable, it will degrade. The ecosystem cannot survive. It will split up to different other ecosystems. So a climax form is a stage in a successional process or progression, where the components in a ecosystem are saturated or stable while sharing different components among themselves. Then Vladimir Vernadsky, he gave this concept. They studied the dynamic relationship between life and the earth, biogeochemical cycles. Then you know that biogeochemical cycle is one of the most studied or preferred answer how the minerals are cycled. It's a very better, I should say, the preferred field of study, because the cycling of the minerals, the same resources which were shared by the producers, are transferred to the secondary producers or the primary consumers, secondary consumers likewise, and again it returns to the primary producers. So how this cycling is performed for different minerals, that he has given this concept. Without these cyclings, the animals cannot build up the relationship. The food chain cannot be proceeded. So this is how, where the importance of Vladimir Vansky. So these all findings or the observations were there prior to 1900, or you can say 19th century. Then you come to 19th century. It is Arthur Tinsley, A.G. Tinsley, that I told you he is the first person to coin the term ecosystem. He wrote this book, that Introduction to Plant Ecology. Then this plant ecology, this book has got momentum, and it was followed by all biologists across the world, those are studying nature and plant biology. And this is a kind of a term established initially for plant biology, but later it was extended to all organisms, including animals. Then he defined a term that the interactive system established between the biosynthesis, that is what he called ecosystem. It is an interactive system that was established between the biosynthesis and their biotope, means the living beings and their environment. Very simple to read out, but very difficult to think about, because it is not very easy to understand the relationship or interactions between the biosynthesis and the biotopes. Still, these two components have given the whole theory, fundamentals, the mechanisms, and all mathematical computations, relations of ecology. So we can say he set the background of the ecology by giving this concept, that ecosystem. What is ecosystem? Then as I told you, that pyramid of numbers. This is the concept given by Charles Alton. Charles Alton, in his book Animal Ecology, he has established that the numbers are there because when the food is passed from one level or one group of organisms to other group of organisms, there is a difference in numbers. So it is called pyramid of numbers. You might have got that what is pyramid of numbers, but this pyramid of numbers has been it was not a topic or subject to be understood prior Charles Alton. But while observing on animals, he found that this number, when it is discussed or observed from one group of organisms to next group of organisms, the numbers differ. Means the previous numbers may be higher or lower, or next numbers may be higher or lower. So every shift of or transfer of food from one group of organisms to the next group of organisms, the number differs. It is called pyramid of numbers. Why it is pyramid? Because this number is either reducing or increasing. There are inverted pyramid of numbers or erect pyramid of numbers. Inverted means the base is on the top and the apex is on the bottom. And when it is reversed, that is the base is on the bottom and apex is on the top, it is called erect pyramid of numbers. That is why he is known as the father of animal ecology.